Today we are here with this week's Teacher of the Week, Ms. Brinkmann.
Hello.
What inspires you everyday teaching?
My students. I look out into the room and I see future politicians, I see future engineers, I see future artists, and I think when you choose to be a teacher, you choose to give up kind of that part of your own role within society to develop the future of the society. And so my kids inspire me because what they go on to accomplish is just spectacular.
Are there any embarrassing teaching moments that you have?
Yes, actually. So my most embarrassing teaching moment actually involved me getting food poisoning during the day. And so at lunch, lunch was not very good from Wendy's that day, and it was 7th period, and it was homecoming week, and it was the night of the growl, and I'm in the middle of class teaching when your stomach starts to feel not so great, and I was like, oh no, I could power through it, I could power through this, and I decided no, I couldn't do that, and so I had to run out of the classroom to get sick in front of my entire AP class, who was sitting there just kind of like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And so then for the rest of the year, they would very jokingly, very lovingly go, oh no, we were covering that, but you got sick in the middle of that. And so I think that's probably my most embarrassing teaching moment, was getting sick in front of a class of 20-some kids, yeah.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah.
What's one of the worst things about teaching?
So I'm gonna kind of alter it a little. I'm gonna say hardest. And I think the hardest thing for teachers at times is feeling, I think, helpless at times. Like we balance this rope of the things that we have to get done every single day, the curriculum that we have to teach, and then balancing everything that's happening with our own students in their lives. And sometimes we have to take that hard, tough love approach, which kills us really for our kids, because we're here for kids. And you know, there's times that you just kind of want to give them a hug and go, no, this doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, yes, it does matter. So I think the hardest part of being a teacher is balancing that curriculum demands and that love for our kids.
I just asked you the worst thing about being a teacher. What is one of your favorite things about, like, makes you want to come to work every day?
Again, I'm going to go back to my kids. They're probably my favorite part of it. I am actually in a really lucky position where I get to see one group of kids for 2 straight years. And I get to know those kids so incredibly well. And then a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, they come back and they go, do you remember when in class we did whatever it was? And the fact that they can remember that 5 years later really tells me that we developed a really great relationship. Now that relationship, like all relationships, has its ups and downs. But I think at the end of the day, I think they and I both go, yeah, we're here because of each other.
Do you see any differences between if you have a class in the morning and then a class after lunch and all?
Yes. And I think it also depends on what class you're teaching, and the age group of that group as well. And that in the morning, actually, I think most of us are much more fresh and ready to go, and we've had our coffee. And then after lunch, it's tiring. You know, you've been on stage all day, and so by the afternoon, you're just kind of like, whew, I can power through a couple more periods. I can do this. I can do this. But again, I think it depends on the group that you have, right? Yeah. Freshmen are a little bit more squirrely in the morning, and probably a little bit more asleep, whereas juniors and seniors may be a little bit more even through the day depending on their classes.
Well, if you could pass on some words of wisdom to your students and your future students, what would you share?
I think the best piece of wisdom that I can give is plan ahead, right? And I know that is hard for a lot of us. Some of us live in that exact moment, right? Seize the day kind of situations, right? But so much can actually change if we plan ahead. So, don't plan to read those 20, 30 pages of that novel in one night, because that's when tears happen. So plan ahead, right? So dedicate, 10 minutes here on one day and 10 minutes there another head. And so planning, I think, is always the key to success.
Okay. What are some traditions or superstitions you have for the first day of school?
So I think for traditions, I don't know if I have any real specific traditions. I do have a couple of lessons that I do love to actually teach. So for my IB seniors, we always start the year looking at the Cold War. And I read Dr. Seuss's The Butter Battle book, and we have story time and have cookies. And it is kind of silly, but at the same time, it is also a great way to start the year. And I think the other real tradition that I might have is I have my kids write a letter to me at the start of the year to get to know you kind of thing. And I always give them the letter back of who am I? And again, for my group that I see for 2 years, it's here's what updates I have on our lives since we last saw each other. And so it's just kind of a great little tradition of getting to know kids and for them to get to know me, because clearly I'm very shy.